I got a live one here.
How's it going, Internet? I'm Batman. I'm lucky. And so are you, because presumably you haven't been kidnapped by a villain called Abattoir. Just a reference there for the hardcore comic nerds so they know that I know. That's my bat cred right there. As thumbnail enjoyers might already know, this video is part of a series in which I discuss my experiences with the Batman Arkham games. Today, we're talking about why I love, and other emotions, Arkham Asylum. While this is the obvious place to start the series, it's a strange one for me to make a video about because I don't actually rate it that highly as a game. I play most of the other Arkham games once every few years or so, but not Asylum. So how can I say I love it? Well, it's not that kind of love. It's not that. It's more of a deep appreciation for something that's not just served, but completely fulfilled its purpose. It's the love you have for that one jumper that's so scrappy you wouldn't wear it in public, but it fits you like a glove. It's some other third it's the comparing of one article of clothing to another article of clothing. No, wait, that's just bad writing. It's like how most folks don't like the taste of alcohol anywhere near as much as they enjoy the effects of it. So in order for me to tell this story properly, we have to travel back in time to the 1980s. The internet exists, but it won't be available to the international public for another few years yet. Unless you regularly travel, your local world is the world. Well, I mean, the global world was still connected, just differently and a lot more slowly. Gaming was a specialist hobby back then, similar to, say, how 3D printing is now. However, unlike 3D printing, your gaming back then was often a dirty little secret. This meant that there weren't a lot of games because there wasn't a large market there. So the ones that came out were often well loved, even if they weren't very good, even by the standards of the day. But as you know, video games became popular eventually. How did that happen? Well, I assume that it's because gaming became more mainstream because of licensed games. Multiple choice quiz! The very first licensed video game in human history was A. Formula 1 for the ZX Spectrum. B. Stranger Things for the Amstrad CPC 464. C. Some other or D. Spider-Man for the Atari 2600. And the answer is, drum roll please. That was not a drum roll. Spider-Man on the Atari 2600. Which looked like this. Time moved on, and eventually there were licensed sports games as well, along with the odd brand deal here and there. The Zool one, for instance, is pretty fucking odd. Look at this ninja from the nth dimension whose brand pairing was fucking Chupa Chups. What? Ah yes, that classic pairing of space ninjas and lollipops. No wonder people thought he was an ant. So, more and more pop culture brands got turned into licensed games, which soon became notorious for being shovelware, which means shit game, basically. That's what shovelware means. With an extra layer of shit for licensed games because fans would buy the games and realise that they'd wasted their money. Let's look at an example of a game designer understanding the source material. Wolverine's health regenerates in a lot of the games that he's in. A good example of a game designer not understanding the source material but still making a good game is the old Super Star Wars series on the SNES. There's nothing particularly Star Warsy about them apart from the graphics and the sound. Contrast and compare to the greatest Star Wars game ever made, and I will die on this hill, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga.
Stop the press.
Alright, so I've set the scene there. I've just set the scene a little bit more specifically. Now it's early 1988, and film to video game adaptations are notoriously bad. Good example of a game designer understanding nothing so hard that an industry crashed right here.
Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home.
just in time for Christmas.
So imagine it. That's the world. That's pop culture in gaming. None of this going to Reddit and asking which version of Spider-Man I should get for the PS5 so I can get Gwen Stacy as a playable character. None of that. No, mate. Shit games. Look at this. This is it. That's the scene. This is your pop culture gaming life. No, I don't know if that's actually a thing on Spider-Man PS5, but I do know that I probably should have called it Ghost Spider. I just wanted other people to know what I meant. Is that okay with you? And then, in late 1988, this game comes rushing out of the gate, and believe me, mate, it's pretty good. It's called Batman the Caped Crusader, and it shows us that licensed games can be good. It even serves fans of both the comics and the TV shows. No mean feat, considering that the comics were fairly dark in tone at the time, and the TV show was, well, I mean, I love this show, but look at this shit.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Gamers rejoiced, and the game was praised for its many merits. But that also meant that licensed film games would always feel that little bit more shitty now. However, the licensed game from the 1989 Batman film released only 2 years later, and it showed us that licensed film games could be good too. This exact moment, the year of 1990, is, to me, the beginning of the golden age of gaming. Finally, we had a game we could show non-gamers without being mocked. Gaming would become mainstream. It was only a matter of time. Fast forward to 2006 and Bethesda sells their infamous Horse Armor DLC, which marks the end of the golden age of gaming. It may be a controversial statement, so I'm just going to clarify what I mean by that. I am not saying that modern games suck. I'm saying they generally aren't the focus of the experience nowadays. Now they're generally relegated to being a carrier for other content. Or is it okay if Twitch streamers completely ignore the audience and, play the game? Another example is the amount of cosmetics available in a certain game that still has game-breaking issues years after launch. But a better example is the fact that you're trying to work out exactly what game I'm talking about and you are thinking of at least 3 different games. Many modern games are just a way for the company to sell skins or cosmetics or whatever. Any fun that the player might have is, at best, a secondary concern. If the game is complete and finished, that's just a bonus. Or sometimes the game is complete and finished and it's buggy and or boring. One last time in the video, I'll set the scene again. The year is now 2011. By this time, I've been a comics fan for at least 10 years. I decided I'd like to play a game called Torchlight, which is found in some kind of online store known as Steam. If I want to play Torchlight, I also have to install this Steam bullshit. I just want to play the game, whatever, I can always uninstall Steam later. So, play Torchlight, finish it, and I go to uninstall Steam. But just as I do, I see that there's a sale on. I don't know that Steam sales are legendary for their value. This is how I find that out. I see there's a Batman game for sale. Weird. I didn't know about any Batman game. Me, Mr. Comics Nerd Video Game Playerman, for mere pocket change, I try out this Batman game. Unlike the previous Batman games, I don't enjoy this at first. The puzzles are either too hard or too simple. The controls really don't suit mouse and keyboard, and I'm not using a controller on PC back then. The pacing is terrible. The story is kind of cool, and the voice acting is easily the best I've ever heard in a game. No contest. And the graphics? The what? Graphics? What graphics? You think this is a game? This is no game. And I have all the prep time in the world. Or if you're Christian Bale, I have all the prep time in the world. Nailed it. I had never been so immersed in a game in my entire life. Later on, I'd see some pretty big flaws in Batman's ideology. Even later on after that, I'd realise Batman isn't some kind of god, he's just another poor schmuck caught in the system like you and me. Well, maybe a rich schmuck caught in the system, but you see my point. If you haven't played the series, there are certain sections which rely heavily on 2 wildly different skill sets. Combat and stealth. There's something almost relaxing about both of them. Arkham Asylum was originally designed as a rhythm game, and it shows in the combat. You can get into a flow, and once you recognise the enemy movements and tells, you can go into a low-key combat trance. Because it's using beats, something that most people instinctively understand, an experienced Arkham Asylum player can slip into the zone quite easily. And the stealth can be even more relaxing. Perched atop a grotesque, Batman can just hang down from them and remove foes from combat. My love for Arkham Asylum stands alongside other emotions. I love the idea of it, but I hate playing it. I had to talk myself into reinstalling it just to get footage for this video. Crazy. I'm genuinely disgusted by the physical appearance of the endgame Joker, but I was delighted by his voice lines.
Well, that was unexpected, wasn't it? Oh well.
Above all, I remain utterly limerence. Yes, all words are made up. Back to the topic. With the fact that they hired all the right voice actors. So imagine my surprise when I discovered that a sequel had already come out. This was already a series, and I hadn't even heard of it. Join me next time, or perhaps in like 2 minutes if this is the supercut version, as we discuss my love and other emotions for Arkham City.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Wait, should I have mentioned the Lovecraft stuff?
Hey, Batman. Every damn time.